Neuvillette, the best DPS character in Genshin Impact. The fraud who does less damage than Hu Tao and Linny. To be fair, that's a very disingenuous way of framing it. I shouldn't just conveniently forget about Neuvillette's great AoE potential and the fact that he's Hydro, which means he can be played with broken reactions like Hyper Bloom and Burgeon. After all, he's not really a hyper carry like the others, he's more so balanced around his ability to apply Hydro, and that is what makes him so broken at the end of wait. He only applies Hydro 3 times per charge attack? Yeah, that's what I thought. Neuvillette is mid. Real advice, you're better off just playing Xingqiu instead. He applies way more Hydro, generates way more blooms, which translate to way more damage by the way. He even has resistance to interruption, which Neuvillette doesn't have unless you waste your pulls on C1, which you should never do because it forces you to spend money. At the end of the day, Neuvillette is nothing insane, right? All the bat chest going around is really cope. Just because you're an imbecile and his brain-dead one-button playstyle alleviates your skill issue somewhat doesn't mean he's actually good. You are just bad, and you are a terrible person for liking a limited 5-star carry. Jokes aside, I do actually have something to say about Neuvillette, and I figure now would be a great time considering that he has a rerun coming up pretty soon. Like we all already know, Neuvillette is a fucking great on-field carry, and his strengths both on a spreadsheet and in practice cannot be denied. And to be honest, I don't actually have anything genuinely negative to say about him. That said, I do stand by the title of this video. Oh yes, Neuvillette is overrated. But not for some hidden shortcoming in his kit that no one admits or talks about. Instead, it has more to do with the players themselves and their rather extreme perception of him. Neuvillette's status as this shiny, powerful new toy caused people to romanticize him a bit too much. In a lot of players' minds, he is raised unconditionally on a pedestal above his peers that is too high even for his merits to justify. And I'll explain exactly why I think that, and more importantly, why it's a bad take. But first, let's analyze why so many players, myself included, like Neuvillette so much to begin with. Please subscribe for more analytical Genshin content like this and concise, high-quality guides for your favorite characters and teams. Thank you. Neuvillette does a lot of damage, and that is the absolute basis for his greatness. A character can have amazing AoE, the best element, and all the quality of life perks in the world, but they'd still eat shit anyway if they didn't do damage. Neuvillette's merits don't just stop at good numerical values, however. He possesses another great strength in his massive horizontal AoE in the form of a gigantic beam of overhydrated urine. You see, unlike some other characters with bat-chestable AoE, Neuvillette's piss stream is so massive that you can actually hit every single enemy on the map more often than not. And if necessary, you can turn your mouse up to 10,000 DPI and spin, further increasing his moisture coverage. Apart from those, Neuvillette also features miscellaneous perks such as being tanky as all fuck as an HP scaler, and having built-in self-healing, which, when combined with his big, forgiving AoE charge attack that require only for you to hold down left click, firmly cement him as a very mechanically easy character to play. Neuvillette does a lot of damage, has uniquely perfect AoE, and offers a very noob-friendly gameplay loop. He is probably as flawless as any DPS character gets right now, and I absolutely agree with all that. However, that doesn't save him from being overrated at all, and here's why. The reason why I say Neuvillette is overrated is not because I think any of his strengths that I just listed aren't true, or even grossly exaggerated. What I have a problem with is the sheer level of glaze that this community drizzles all over him, to the point where it leads to cult-like behavior that is no longer in touch with reality. Comments like this, or this, pop up everywhere. People seem to enjoy comparing every DPS character, old or new, released or not, with Neuvillette, and then try frantically to assert in their predisposed position why none of them are anywhere near his level. I won't even get into the CN community. They straight up defaulted 0-point-something dragons as a unit of measurement for strength. As it stands, Neuvillette is popularly perceived to be from a higher, holier dimension than his on-field carry peers, and the default must-have DPS character that the entire meta revolves around. And that is a bad take. Just because Neuvillette is arguably the overall best on-field carry right now thanks to his well-rounded kit, does not mean that he is fundamentally broken. Consider the following. Right now, there are multiple characters with teams that objectively do as much, if not more damage than even the ceiling of Neuvillette comps. While they aren't necessarily as mechanically trivial to play optimally, they're not exactly rocket science either. A similarly invested Alhaitham, Linny, perhaps Xiao with Xianyun, or the example that I find many Neuvillette stands don't seem to like, Hu Tao, will often just clear faster than Neuvillette against bosses and other single target oriented content, both on paper and in practice, which, you know, is not insignificant, as such content is at least half of all floor 12. Furthermore, the characters that match Neuvillette in damage output aren't incompetent in AoE either. Neuvillette has advantage in AoE size and range, which makes it easier to hit the opponents perfectly at once, for sure. And I do agree in experience that he does clear faster than the other options against swarms of mobs. But how much does someone like Xiao Alhaitham, or speaking strictly in AoE, Nilou or even Child actually lag behind? The answer is, it depends, but often not that much. The big Lament Ground Pound and the Vegetarian Gates of Babylon, among other abilities, have pretty good AoE too. They might not clear as fast as Neuvillette, especially when enemies are placed further apart, but so what? The point is, Neuvillette is at best slightly better than the few other top carries, whether against certain specific content or as an overall complete package. He is undeniably amazing and perhaps has the most gameplay perks out of the bunch, but he is not gapping his peers in any meaningful way. Believe it or not, Neuvillette is not the only carry in the game that does consistently high damage, has no significant gameplay flaws, and is good at everything. Here comes the actual most important part, and the part that I want you to take away if it's the only thing you remember from this video. Playing Neuvillette means adhering to a very specific one-button charge attacking playstyle, which you may or may not enjoy. Neuvillette is very strong, but his greatest advantage over his peers is by far ease of use. And ease of use alone does not overshadow the charm of unique playstyles of other great characters, who for all intents and purposes matches performance everywhere, at the cost of activating a few more brain cells on your part. Because of this, I believe that defaulting to Neuvillette as the universal answer for which DPS character any given player should prioritize is not ideal, to say the least. A nuanced approach to recommendations that prioritizes preference of playstyle over a poor attempt at a black and white answer to who is the absolute best will undoubtedly allow the most players to have a much healthier and more enjoyable journey through the game's open-ended meta. Neuvillette is an amazing on-field carry. Thanks to his consistently high performance against all content and notable quality of life features, he has a very strong case for being the overall most complete DPS character in the game as of today. However, it's paramount to recognize that his dominance is not absolute. He has never been the best at everything, nor is he without close competition, even in his strong suits, or as an overall, well-rounded package. If you decide to pull for Neuvillette, or to recommend him to someone else, I want you to do it with the following understanding. Among the top dogs in this game that all do a ton of damage in unique ways, Neuvillette's unique user-friendliness against AoE content especially, and his overall lack of demand for mechanical skill, is of great importance to you. That, and the fact that you simply enjoy Neuvillette's character and or car wash LARPing playstyle, is the base reason for choosing him. What should not be the case is for you to feel an arbitrary necessity to glaze him, because you were told that he is by far the best DPS in the game period, or that he defines the DPS meta all by himself, or that you started drooling over him after seeing a Cian speedrunner solo the Abyss with a C6 R5 Neuvillette in 60 seconds. These are all incredibly short-sighted viewpoints that promote the spread of under-nuanced and ultimately useless takes that do nothing but remove fun from the game. Moral of the story, be intelligent and focus on strengthening the characters you enjoy playing. There are more ways than one to play meta. Neuvillette is certainly a top option among on-field carries right now, and that probably won't change anytime soon. But he is also far from the only one. Recognize his strengths for what they are and don't feed the pointless myths. That's all for today. Butterfur out. See ya.